The hand came from nowhere. One second, Marcus Devereaux was standing in his own marble foyer, gift bag in hand, picturing his wife's surprised smile. The next, someone's palm was clamped so hard over his mouth he tasted salt and fear. His body jerked backward into darkness, coat buttons scraping against the wall, shoes skidding on polished floors he'd walked across 1,000 thoughtless times. "Sir, don't!" A woman's voice, shaking but fierce, right against his ear. "Please, don't make a single sound." His brain tried to catch up. He knew that voice. He'd heard it every morning for 3 years, asking if he wanted cream with his coffee. Soft, forgettable, background noise in the life of a man who never had to notice the people who kept his world running. Cynthia, his housekeeper. She dragged him sideways into the narrow storage closet off the main hall, the one where they kept winter coats and umbrellas no one ever used. The door clicked almost shut. Just a sliver of light cut through. Her hand was still pressed to his mouth, and her dark eyes locked onto his with an intensity that made his stomach drop. She wasn't asking. She was begging. Marcus's heart hammered so loud he thought it might give them away. His mind scrambled for logic. Had someone broken in? Was there an intruder? But Cynthia didn't look like she was protecting him from a stranger. She looked like she was hiding him from someone who already belonged here. Footsteps echoed across the marble. Slow, casual. The kind of walk you do when you're home, when you're comfortable, when you own the space. Through the crack in the door, Marcus saw her. Lauren. His wife of 7 years stepped into view, phone in one hand, wine glass in the other. She looked perfect. Hair glossy, dress fitted, lips curved in that practiced smile she wore for charity galas and magazine covers. She wasn't alone. Behind her, lean and relaxed in a cashmere sweater Marcus had bought him last Christmas, was his younger brother, Ethan. They stood close, too close, laughing softly about something Marcus couldn't hear yet. His breath hitched, but Cynthia's grip tightened. Her finger pressed harder against his lips. A warning. Her eyes said what her mouth didn't. If you move, you die. He should have been gone by now, Ethan said, swirling something amber in a glass. Lauren sighed, the sound laced with irritation, not worry. I doubled it this morning, put it right in his green juice before his run. Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. His green juice. The one Lauren made for him every single morning with that sweet, attentive smile. The one she handed him with a kiss on the cheek and a reminder to take care of himself. He drank it religiously, like the good husband he thought he was. Trusting, stupid, blind. The dizziness he'd been ignoring for weeks, the tremors in his hands during board meetings. The nights he'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart racing, blaming stress, blaming age, blaming everything except the truth. They were poisoning him. His own wife, his own brother. He went to the office again, Ethan said, almost amused. Man's a machine. Lauren's jaw tightened. He won't make it through tonight. The words fell like stones into water, heavy, final. Marcus's knees buckled, but Cynthia's arm locked around his ribs, holding him upright. She was small, barely up to his shoulder, but in that moment, she felt like the only solid thing in the world. Lauren turned toward the kitchen. Her heels clicked closer. Marcus pressed himself against the back wall of the closet, every muscle frozen. The scent of her perfume, the one he used to love, drifted past like poison in the air. A drawer opened, the clink of metal on glass, a spoon stirring, slow and deliberate. Cynthia's been watching me, Lauren said, voice lower now. Marcus felt the woman beside him go still. Then handle her, Ethan replied, cold as winter. Tonight. After. After, Lauren agreed. And just like that, Marcus understood 2 things with perfect, terrible clarity. He wasn't supposed to see Christmas morning, and the only person in this house trying to save him was the woman he'd never once looked at as fully human. The footsteps faded. Cynthia waited, counting seconds in the dark, her hand still firm against his chest. When the house finally went quiet, she pulled the door open just enough to slip through. "Move," she whispered. Marcus followed because his brain had nothing left but instinct. She led him down the back hallway, the one the staff used, past the laundry room and the pantry he'd never stepped foot in. His house, his home, and he was sneaking through it like a fugitive. "Cynthia," he managed, voice raw. "What? Not here." She didn't look back. "Not now. This is my house." She stopped so suddenly he almost ran into her. When she turned, her face was calm, but her eyes burned. "This is their trap," she said quietly. "And if you stay in it, Mr. Devereaux, you won't live long enough to prove what they've done." She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside was white powder, fine as sugar. Marcus stared at it like it might explode. "I pulled this from the trash last week," Cynthia said. "I watched her measure it. I watched her hide it. And I kept it because something in my gut told me you were dying, and nobody else seemed to care." Marcus opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Shame, hot and choking, crawled up his throat. "We can test it," she continued, already moving again. "But not here. Not with people she's paid off. You need to trust me, or you need to walk back out there and finish your Christmas dinner." The choice was so stark, it didn't feel like a choice at all. He followed her to the side exit, past the kitchen counter where his green juice sat waiting with a festive little ribbon tied around the glass. A gift. A murder wrapped in holiday cheer. Cynthia cracked the door open. Warm Houston air spilled in, thick and damp. She pointed toward an old sedan parked by the fence, the kind of car Marcus wouldn't have noticed if it blocked his driveway. "Get in," she said. "Right now." He hesitated. Everything he'd built, everything he owned, every piece of his identity was tied to this house, this name, this life. Walking out that door meant admitting it was all a lie. Then Lauren's voice floated from somewhere inside, sugary and sharp. "Marcus? Baby, are you home?" Cynthia's face didn't change, but her hand found his wrist and pulled. He got in the car. She drove in silence, hands steady on the wheel, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. Marcus watched the mansion disappear behind the hedges, the gate closing automatically like nothing unusual had happened at all. His chest felt too tight. His mind kept looping the same words. "I doubled it. He won't make it through tonight." He reached for his phone. "No." Cynthia's voice was firm. "No calls." "I need to... Who are you going to call?" She glanced at him, and for the first time, he saw something other than deference in her eyes. He saw clarity. "Your security team? The one your wife has access to? Your lawyer? The one who plays golf with your brother? Police? Mr. Devereaux, do you have any idea how much money it takes to make a rich man disappear?" The words hit him like cold water. "Captain Miles," he said weakly. "He's a friend. He'd help." Cynthia shook her head. "I've heard that name in your house. I've heard your brother say it on the phone. I don't trust him." Marcus slumped back in the seat, feeling smaller than he had in 30 years. He'd signed billion-dollar deals. He'd built an empire from inheritance and ambition. He had lawyers, advisors, security, power. And none of it mattered, because the two people he'd trusted most had spent months killing him with a smile. "Where are we going?" he asked. "Somewhere they won't think to look." She turned off the main road into a neighborhood Marcus had never seen. Small houses with chain-link fences, cracked sidewalks, cars parked half on the grass, kids on bikes even though it was almost dark, people sitting on porches, watching. Cynthia pulled into an alley behind a narrow house with peeling blue paint and a sagging porch. She cut the engine. "Head down," she said. "Follow close." Inside, the house smelled like fried onions and soap. A tiny plastic Christmas tree sat on a side table, its branches bent under the weight of a single string of lights. No presents underneath. Just a red bow taped to the wall. The kind of decorations someone puts up when they want to believe in something better than what they've got. Cynthia locked the door, then locked it again. She pulled the curtains closed and finally let out a long, shaky breath. Marcus stood in the middle of her living room and felt the world tilt. "Sit," Cynthia said, pointing to a couch covered in a faded floral throw. He sat, and the second he did, his body gave up. Heat flooded his skin, his hands shook. The room swam at the edges, and he realized, with horrifying clarity, that he was still dying. Whatever Lauren had put in him was still working. "I'm fine," he tried to say. Cynthia touched his forehead and pulled back fast. "You're burning." She disappeared into the kitchen and came back with a bowl of water and a clean rag. She wiped his face with the kind of efficiency that comes from years of taking care of people who don't say thank you. Marcus stared at her hands, rough from work, steady despite everything. These were the hands that had cleaned his home, folded his clothes, set his table, poured his coffee. And he didn't even know if she had kids. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. Cynthia paused, rag dripping into the bowl. She looked at him for a long moment, and he saw something in her face he recognized. Grief. "Because I know what it's like to watch someone die when you could have stopped it," she said quietly. "My brother. He got sick from medicine that was supposed to help him. Turned out the company cut corners to save money. Rich men made that choice, and my brother paid for it." She wrung out the rag, slow and deliberate. "I didn't have proof then. I didn't have power. I couldn't do anything but watch him fade. But this time," she met his eyes. "This time I saw it coming. I heard the plan. I kept the evidence. And I'm not going to let another person die just because someone powerful decided they're worth more dead than alive." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. "I'm sorry," he said, and meant it. "Don't be sorry," Cynthia replied. "Be alive. Then do something with it." A knock rattled the front door. Marcus jerked upright. Cynthia's hand shot out, one finger raised. Silence. She moved to the window and lifted the edge of the curtain. A car sat across the street, engine idling, headlights off. The knock came again, harder this time. A woman's voice, too friendly for the hour. "Cynthia? You in there, honey? I saw a strange car pull up." Cynthia let the curtain drop. She looked at Marcus, then at the back door. "If I tell you to run," she whispered, "you run. You don't wait. You don't look back." Marcus nodded, throat dry. Cynthia walked to the door and opened it just a crack, chain still on. A woman in a bright red sweater stood on the porch holding a foil-covered plate. Her smile was wide, but her eyes were sharp, darting past Cynthia's shoulder, searching. "Hey, Mrs. Parker," Cynthia said, voice easy. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, baby. Just wanted to check on you. Saw a car I didn't recognize, and you know how it is. Can't be too careful." "That was my cousin. Dropped me off after church. He's gone now." Mrs. Parker tilted her head. "Mm-hmm. Well, I made extra cornbread. Thought you might want some." "That's real kind. Thank you." Cynthia reached for the plate, but Mrs. Parker held on just a second too long. "You look tired," she said softly. "Everything okay?" "Long week. I'm fine." Mrs. Parker's gaze slid past her one more time. "You know, that car across the street's been sitting there a while. I don't like it." "I'll keep an eye out." The two women stared at each other, something unspoken passing between them. "If you're hiding something you shouldn't be," Mrs. Parker said, voice dropping. I won't cover for you. Cynthia held her gaze. I'm not hiding trouble. I'm stopping it. Mrs. Parker studied her for another long beat, then nodded once. Merry Christmas, Cynthia. Merry Christmas. The door closed. Cynthia locked it, leaned her forehead against the wood, and let her shoulders shake just once before she pulled herself together. Marcus sat on the couch, hood up, trying to keep the room from spinning. I'm sorry, he said again, because he didn't know what else to say. Cynthia turned, and her face was hard now, focused. Stop apologizing, she said. Start thinking. You heard your wife say she's finishing this tonight. We don't have time for guilt. We need proof that'll hold up, and we need it before she makes her next move. Marcus forced himself to think past the fever, past the fear. I have cameras, he said slowly. A backup system Lauren doesn't know about. It saves to a drive in my office safe. Cynthia's eyes sharpened. Your office is in the house. I know. Then we'd have to go back. I know. Outside, the car across the street went silent. The engine cut off. A door opened, then closed. Cynthia moved to the window. A man stepped onto the sidewalk, cap pulled low, hands in his pockets. He didn't look lost. He looked like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. He walked toward Cynthia's porch. The doorknob turned. Slow. Testing. Cynthia grabbed a kitchen knife, not to fight, but because her hands needed something solid. She positioned herself behind the door and waited. A voice came through the wood. Deep. Familiar. Cynthia. It's Captain Miles. Marcus felt ice flood his veins. I know you're in there, the captain continued, calm and easy. And I know Marcus is with you. His wife called. She's worried sick. Said he's confused, maybe having a breakdown. Let me help. Let me get him to a hospital where he'll be safe. Marcus looked at Cynthia. Her face was stone. If he was here to help, she whispered, he wouldn't be talking about your wife first. Captain Miles knocked again, gentle this time. Cynthia, don't make this harder than it has to be. Open the door. She pointed to the back. Marcus stood, legs shaking, and followed her through the kitchen. They slipped out into the alley just as they heard the front door splinter behind them. Cynthia led him through a maze of fences and dumpsters, moving fast and low. They came out on a side street near a small brick building with a wooden cross in the window. New Hope Church. She knocked 3 times. The door opened. An older man with kind eyes and silver hair looked at Cynthia, then at Marcus, and his expression shifted. Pastor Grant, Cynthia said, voice cracking for the first time. Please. Pastor Grant stepped aside. Come in, quickly. They stepped into warmth and silence. The door locked behind them, and for the first time since Marcus walked into his own house that morning, he felt like he might actually survive the night. The church smelled like old wood and candle wax. Simple wooden pews lined the small sanctuary, and a plain cross hung on the wall behind the pulpit. No stained glass, no marble. Nothing like the cathedral where Marcus and Lauren had gotten married in front of 400 guests and a string quartet. This was the kind of place Marcus drove past without seeing. Pastor Grant locked the door, then turned to face them. He was older than Marcus first thought, maybe 70, with deep lines around his eyes that came from smiling and worrying in equal measure. Tell me what's happening, he said. Marcus opened his mouth, but the words stuck. How did you say it out loud? How did you make it real? They're trying to kill him, Cynthia said, steady and clear. His wife and his brother. Poison. Small doses over time. I heard them planning to finish it tonight. Pastor Grant's face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Not shock. Sadness. Like he'd seen too much of the world to be surprised by evil anymore. And you got him out, he said to Cynthia. Yes, sir. Police? Compromised. His wife has money and connections. Captain Miles just tried to force his way into my house." Pastor Grant looked at Marcus, really looked at him, the way people do when they're measuring whether you're worth the risk. "You believe her?" he asked. Marcus met his eyes. "I heard them. I heard my wife say she doubled the dose this morning. I've been sick for weeks, and I blamed everything except the truth." Pastor Grant nodded slowly. "Then you're going to need proof that can't be bought or buried. You have that?" "There's a backup camera system in my office," Marcus said. "Saves to a hidden drive. If it caught her mixing the poison, that's evidence." "Your office is in your house?" "Yes. The house where two people are actively trying to kill you." "Yes." Pastor Grant pulled out a chair from a small table near the back room. "Sit, both of you." Marcus sat and immediately felt his body start to give out again. The adrenaline that had been holding him together was fading, and underneath it was just sickness and fear. Cynthia sat beside him, still alert, still watching the door. Pastor Grant disappeared into a back room and returned with a first aid kit and 2 bottles of water. He handed one to Marcus. "Drink slowly," he said. "When's the last time you ate?" Marcus couldn't remember. "I'll make a call," Pastor Grant said. "We've got a nurse in the congregation, works at a clinic, good woman, knows how to keep her mouth shut." "Can she test the powder?" Cynthia asked, pulling the small plastic bag from her pocket. Pastor Grant looked at it, then carefully took it from her hand and set it on the table like it might bite. "She can run a basic screen," he said. "Won't be courtroom perfect, but it'll tell us what we're dealing with." He made the call. Short, quiet, just enough information. When he hung up, he looked at Marcus. "She'll be here in 20 minutes. Meantime, you need to stay out of sight. If Miles is working for your wife, he'll come here eventually." "Then we're putting you in danger," Marcus said. Pastor Grant smiled, thin and tired. "Son, I've been in danger since the day I decided to actually follow what Jesus said about protecting the poor and standing up to power. This is just another Tuesday." Cynthia's shoulders finally dropped an inch, like she'd been holding her breath since they left the house, and only now felt safe enough to exhale. "Thank you," she said quietly. Pastor Grant looked at her with something like pride. "You did the hard part. You saw evil happening, and you didn't look away. That takes a kind of courage most people don't have." "I just did what was right." "Most people don't even do that." Marcus felt the words land on him like stones. He'd built a fortune, donated to charities, sat on boards, shaken hands with mayors and senators. And he'd never once done what Cynthia had done. He'd never risked anything that mattered. A soft knock came at the side door. 3 taps, a pause, then 2 more. Pastor Grant moved to the door and checked through the window before opening it. A woman in blue scrubs stepped inside, medical bag in hand. She was younger than Marcus expected, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and no-nonsense energy. "Kayla," Pastor Grant said, "this is Cynthia and Marcus." Kayla looked at Marcus, and he saw her take in his expensive watch, his tailored coat, the kind of details people like her noticed about people like him. "You're the billionaire," she said, not a question. "Yes." "And someone's poisoning you." "My wife." Kayla set her bag down and pulled out a blood pressure cuff. "Let me see." She worked quickly, checked his pulse, his temperature, his pupils, asked questions about symptoms, timeline, patterns. Marcus answered as best he could, though the memories felt hazy now, blurred by weeks of slow sickness he'd written off as stress. "You're lucky," Kayla said finally. "Another few days and this would have been irreversible." She took a small sample of blood from his finger, sealed it in a vial, then turned to the plastic bag on the table. "This what you think she used?" "Yes," Cynthia said. Kayla opened the bag carefully, took a tiny sample, and ran it through a handheld testing device she pulled from her bag. The machine beeped and whirred. They all waited. Marcus watched her face. It went hard. "It's poison," Kayla said quietly. "Matches what's in his blood. Slow-acting toxin. Small doses wouldn't kill him outright, but over time it would look like organ failure. Heart attack, maybe. Stroke. Something natural for a man under stress." Marcus felt the room tilt again. "How much did she give me this morning?" he asked. Kayla looked at him, and he saw the answer in her eyes before she said it. "Enough to finish the job. If you'd stayed home, if you'd drunk that juice tonight like she planned, you'd be dead before morning." The words hung in the air like smoke. Cynthia's hand found his, just for a second, a steadying touch. "Can you testify to this?" Pastor Grant asked Kayla. "I can, but you're going to need more than my word and a field test. You need video, documentation, a clear chain of evidence that shows intent." "We have video," Marcus said, "in my office safe." Kayla looked at him like he'd just said he needed to walk into a fire. "Your office, in the house where your wife is currently planning your funeral." "Yes." "Then you need a plan, a good one, because if she's smart enough to poison you slowly, she's smart enough to have a backup." Pastor Grant pulled out a notepad and a pen, old school. No phones, no computers, nothing that could be traced or hacked. "We make a list," he said. "What we need, what we have, who we can trust." "We can't trust local police," Cynthia said. "Miles is compromised." "What about federal?" Kayla asked. Marcus shook his head. "I don't know who my brother's paid off. He's got connections everywhere." "Then we go around them," Pastor Grant said. "We get the evidence first. Solid, undeniable proof. Then we take it to someone who can't be bought." "Who?" Marcus asked. "I know a federal prosecutor," Kayla said slowly. "She's clean. I've worked with her on medical fraud cases. She doesn't play games, and she doesn't care how much money you have." "Will she move fast?" Cynthia asked. "If we give her something she can use, yes." Pastor Grant tapped the pen on the table. "Then here's what we do. We get the drive from the office. We get Marcus somewhere safe. We hand everything to the prosecutor and let her bring the hammer down." "Getting the drive means going back to the house," Marcus said. "Not you." Cynthia's voice was firm. "You can barely stand. If they catch you, they'll finish what they started." "Then who?" Cynthia met his eyes. "Me. I know the house. I know the schedules. I know where the cameras are and where they're not." "Absolutely not," Marcus said. "You heard what Ethan said. They're planning to get rid of you tonight." "Which means they think I'm already scared. They think I'll run or hide or stay quiet like I always have." Her jaw set. "They're wrong. It's too dangerous. It's the only way." Pastor Grant held up a hand. "She's right. You go back there, Marcus. You're a dead man." But Cynthia's been invisible to them this whole time. That's her advantage. Marcus wanted to argue, but the truth was obvious. He was a liability now. Weak, recognizable, wanted. Cynthia was the one person who could move through that house like a ghost. "I'll go with her," Kayla said. "I can wait outside, be the getaway if something goes wrong." "And I'll stay here with Marcus," Pastor Grant added. "If Miles comes back, I'll handle it." Marcus looked at Cynthia. She looked back, unflinching. "I need you to tell me exactly where the safe is," she said, "and how to open it." So he did. Walked her through the layout of his office, the hidden panel behind the wedding photo on the wall, the combination to the safe, the small black drive that would be sitting in the back left corner. "What if they're home?" he asked. "Lauren's supposed to be at the charity dinner tonight," Cynthia said. "Big Christmas gala downtown. She never misses it. She'll be gone by 7. "And Ethan?" "He usually goes with her, keeps up appearances." "Usually." Cynthia nodded. "It's a risk, but everything is now." Pastor Grant stood. "I've got a van out back. Plain, no plates that'll draw attention. Take it." He handed Cynthia a set of keys, then looked at Marcus. "You trust her?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "With my life." "Good, because that's exactly what you're doing." Cynthia and Kayla left through the back door just as the sun started to set. Christmas lights blinked on across the neighborhood, red and green and gold, cheerful and oblivious. Marcus sat in the small back room of the church and felt the weight of everything settle on him. His body ached, his head pounded. But worse than the physical pain was the humiliation. He'd been so sure of himself, so certain he had control, and he'd been dying in his own home for months without noticing. Pastor Grant brought him soup and crackers, the kind of simple meal Marcus hadn't eaten since he was a kid. "Eat," the pastor said. "You need your strength." Marcus ate because he didn't know what else to do. The soup was warm and bland and tasted like the first real thing he'd had in weeks. "Can I ask you something?" Pastor Grant said after a while. "Sure." "How long were you married?" 7 years. "You love her?" Marcus opened his mouth to say yes, then stopped. Did he? Or had he loved the idea of her, the perfect wife, the perfect image, the perfect addition to his perfect life? "I thought I did," he said finally. Pastor Grant nodded. "Love's a tricky thing. People think it's a feeling, but feelings change. Real love is a choice you make every day, to see someone, to know them, to protect them even when it costs you something." He looked at Marcus. "Cynthia made that choice for you. She didn't have to. You weren't kind to her. You didn't see her. But she saw you dying, and she chose to save you anyway. That's love, the kind that matters." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I don't deserve it." "None of us deserve grace," Pastor Grant said gently. "That's what makes it grace." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the city hummed with Christmas Eve traffic. Families heading to dinners, churches filling up for services, last-minute shoppers racing through stores. Normal life. The life Marcus used to have. His phone was gone, thrown into a scrapyard hours ago. His watch, too. Every piece of his identity stripped away. And sitting in this small, plain room, wearing borrowed clothes and eating cheap soup, Marcus realized something. He'd never felt more human. A door slammed somewhere outside. Voices carried through the walls. Pastor Grant moved to the window and looked out, then relaxed. "Just the evening service letting out," he said. But Marcus's heart was still racing. "How long have they been gone?" he asked. Pastor Grant checked his watch. "About 40 minutes. "How long should it take?" "If everything goes right, an hour, maybe less." "And if it doesn't?" Pastor Grant didn't answer. He didn't have to. Marcus stood and paced the small room, ignoring the way his legs shook. He thought about Cynthia driving back to the house, walking through the staff entrance, moving through halls she knew by heart, slipping into his office, opening the safe. He thought about all the things that could go wrong. Lauren coming home early, Ethan staying behind, security cameras Cynthia didn't know about, Miles showing up with a warrant or a gun, or just the confidence that comes with being on the winning side. He thought about Cynthia getting caught, and he thought about what they'd do to her. "I should have gone," he said. "You'd be dead. She could be dead." "She could," Pastor Grant agreed. "That's the risk she chose to take. All you can do now is make sure it means something." Marcus stopped pacing and looked at the old pastor. "If we get the evidence," he said, "if we prove what they did, what happens then?" "Then you take back your life, and you use it better than you did before." "What if I don't know how?" Pastor Grant smiled. "Then you learn. You've got a good teacher now." Another 30 minutes crawled by, then 45. Marcus's chest felt tight. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Pastor Grant prayed quietly in the corner, lips moving, eyes closed. Marcus didn't know how to pray anymore. Wasn't sure he ever really had. But he closed his eyes and thought, please, please let her be okay. At exactly 1 hour and 12 minutes, the back door opened. Footsteps, quick and light. Marcus stood, heart hammering. Cynthia walked into the room, breathing hard, coat dusty, hair coming loose from its tie. In her hand was a small black drive. "We got it," she said. And Marcus felt something in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Kayla came in right behind Cynthia, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with adrenaline. "That was closer than I'd like," she said, setting down her medical bag. Marcus crossed the room in 3 steps. "What happened?" Cynthia held up the drive, turning it over in her fingers like she still couldn't believe it was real. "Ethan was there," she said. "He didn't go to the gala." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Did he see you?" "No, but it was close." She sat down heavily, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, she looked tired. Really tired. "I went in through the service entrance like always. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I made it to your office, got the safe open, had the drive in my hand." She paused, swallowing hard. "Then I heard footsteps in the hall. Ethan's voice on the phone. He was talking to someone about you, saying they'd put out the story that you'd had a breakdown, that you were unstable, dangerous maybe, getting ahead of it in case you surfaced." Marcus's hands curled into fists. "I hid behind the curtain by the window," Cynthia continued. "Same place we hid this morning. He came in, walked right past me, sat at your desk. He was looking for something. Papers, I think. Documents." "Probably my will," Marcus said quietly. "He didn't find what he wanted, got frustrated, made another call. That's when I heard him say it." She looked up at Marcus, and her eyes were hard. "He told whoever was on the phone that once you were gone, they'd deal with me. Make it look like I ran off. No body, no questions. Just another immigrant woman who disappeared." The room went silent. Kayla spoke first, voice tight with anger. "These people are monsters." "These people are my family," Marcus said, and the words tasted like ash. Pastor Grant moved to the table and plugged in an old laptop. "Let's see what we've got." Cynthia handed him the drive. He inserted it, clicked through folders, found the right files. Video thumbnails filled the screen, organized by date and camera location. "Kitchen, main level," Pastor Grant read. "Office, living room, garage." He looked at Marcus. "Which one?" "Kitchen," Marcus said. "That's where she made the juice every morning." Pastor Grant opened the file, scrolled through hours of footage, speeding through empty frames until movement appeared. There. Lauren walked into frame wearing yoga clothes and a smile, looking exactly like the woman Marcus woke up next to every day. Beautiful. Put together. Normal. She opened the refrigerator, pulled out kale, ginger, apple, all the things Marcus thought were keeping him healthy. Set them on the counter. Then she reached into the very back of the cabinet above the stove, the one where they kept things they almost never used, and pulled out a small glass container. Even on the grainy camera footage, Marcus could see the white powder inside. Lauren looked around, a quick, nervous glance, then unscrewed the cap. She measured carefully, using a tiny spoon, dumping the powder into the blender. Then she made the juice exactly the way she always did. Blended it smooth, poured it into Marcus's favorite glass, the one with his company logo on it. She rinsed the container, put it back in the cabinet, and wiped down the counter. Then Ethan walked in. He leaned against the doorframe, casual and comfortable, and said something that made Lauren laugh. The video had no audio, but Marcus didn't need it. He could fill in the blanks. Ethan picked up the glass, swirled it, set it back down, nodded his approval. Lauren kissed him. Not a sibling kiss, not a friendly peck, a real kiss, deep and familiar and practiced. Marcus looked away. "How long?" he asked quietly. "Does it matter?" Cynthia's voice was gentle. "No, I guess it doesn't." Pastor Grant scrolled forward, found another clip from 2 weeks ago. Same routine, Lauren making juice, Ethan watching. Another from a month back, then 6 weeks. "She's been doing this for at least 2 months, Kayla said. Probably longer." Marcus did the math in his head. The dizziness started around October, the tremors in November. By December, he could barely make it through a board meeting without needing to sit down. 2 months of slow murder. 2 months of good morning kisses and I love yous and little notes in his briefcase that said things like, "Proud of you," and "See you tonight." "This is enough," Kayla said firmly. "This is more than enough. We take this to the prosecutor, she'll have arrest warrants by morning." "No," Marcus said. Everyone looked at him. "We do it tonight." "Marcus," Pastor Grant started. "Tonight," Marcus repeated. "She's at the Christmas gala right now. The one she never misses because it's full of cameras and important people and everyone who matters. She'll be there, smiling and perfect, playing the worried wife whose husband is missing." His voice hardened. "I want her to see me walk in. I want her to know she failed. And I want everyone in that room to see exactly who she is." Cynthia studied his face. "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Kayla pulled out her phone. "Then I'm calling the prosecutor now. Rachel Voss. If I tell her what we have, she'll meet us there with federal agents. But Marcus, once we do this, there's no taking it back. Your life is going to explode. Your name, your reputation, everything." "My reputation was built on lies," Marcus said. "I'd rather have the truth." Kayla made the call. She spoke quickly, efficiently, laying out the situation in clear, undeniable terms. Poisoning, conspiracy, attempted murder, evidence on video. She listened, nodded, then hung up. "She's in," Kayla said. "She'll have agents at the hotel in 30 minutes, but she wants to see the video first. Make sure it's solid." "Show her," Marcus said. Kayla sent the files from the laptop to her secured email, then forwarded them to Rachel Voss. They waited. 5 minutes felt like an hour. The phone rang. "This is Voss," a woman's voice said, crisp and all business. "I've seen the video. It's good. Very good. If you're willing to testify, Mr. Devereaux, I can have your wife and brother in custody by midnight." "I'll testify," Marcus said. "Then here's how this goes. You come to the hotel. You stay out of sight until I give the signal. My agents will be positioned throughout the venue. When I give the word, you walk in and we make the arrest public. Clean, clear, no room for backroom deals." "What about Cynthia?" Marcus asked. "They've threatened her. She's not safe." "Cynthia comes with us. Protective custody until this is over. She's a witness, and I don't take chances with witnesses." Cynthia nodded once, and Marcus saw relief flicker across her face. "One more thing," Voss said. "Are you prepared for what happens next? Your wife will claim you're unstable. Your brother will lawyer up. This will be ugly and public, and everyone you know will have an opinion." Marcus looked at Cynthia, at Pastor Grant, at Kayla, at the people who'd saved his life when everyone else was planning his funeral. "Let them talk," he said. "I'm done living in their version of the story." They took Pastor Grant's van to the hotel. Cynthia drove. Marcus sat in the back, wearing a plain jacket and a baseball cap that Kayla had pulled from somewhere. He looked like any other tired man on Christmas Eve. He didn't look like a billionaire. He didn't look like a man who'd almost died. He looked, for the first time in years, like himself. The hotel rose up in front of them, all glass and lights and holiday glamour. Valets in red vests opened car doors. Women in gowns stepped out, laughing. Men in tuxedos checked their phones and smiled for cameras. Marcus's world. The one he'd belonged to his whole life. It felt like looking at a stage set. Kayla's phone buzzed. Voss is here. Side entrance. Let's go. They parked in the back lot and walked through a service corridor that smelled like industrial cleaner and catered food. A woman in a dark suit waited by the elevators. Tall, sharp-eyed, with the kind of presence that made people move out of her way without her having to ask. "Devereaux," she said, shaking his hand. "Firm grip. No nonsense." "Rachel Voss. Sorry we're meeting under these circumstances." "Thank you for moving fast." "Thank Kayla. She vouched for you, and I trust her." Voss looked at Cynthia. "You're the one who pulled him out?" "Yes, ma'am." Voss nodded, something like respect crossing her face. "That took guts. We'll keep you safe." She gestured to two agents standing nearby. "Rodriguez and Chen will stay with you. Anything happens, anything feels wrong, you tell them." Cynthia looked at Marcus. He wanted to say something, find words big enough for what she'd done, but all he managed was, "Thank you." She smiled, small, tired, real. "Go finish it." Voss led Marcus and Kayla up a back stairwell to a storage room overlooking the ballroom. Through a narrow window, Marcus could see everything. The ballroom was decorated like a winter wonderland. White lights, silver trees, tables covered in crystal and candles. At least 300 people filled the space, all of them dressed like they had money and wanted you to know it. And there, at the front table near the stage, sat Lauren. She wore a red dress, the one Marcus had bought her last year in Paris. Her hair was perfect. Her smile was perfect. She was talking to the mayor's wife, touching her arm, laughing at something, playing her part beautifully. Ethan sat beside her, looking relaxed and expensive in a custom tux. He checked his watch, said something to Lauren. She nodded, took a sip of champagne. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. "They think they've won," he said quietly. "They did win," Voss replied. "Right up until they didn't." She spoke into a small microphone on her wrist. "All units in position?" Voices crackled back. "Affirmative." Voss looked at Marcus. "Last chance to back out." "I'm not backing out." "Then let's go." They walked down the hallway, through the kitchen where staff rushed around plating desserts and pouring wine, and stopped at the main entrance to the ballroom. Marcus could hear music, soft jazz, the kind that said elegance and class and everything's fine here. Voss gave him a small earpiece. "When you're ready, walk in. Head straight for your wife's table. Don't stop. Don't talk to anyone else. My agents will move in behind you." Marcus put in the earpiece, took a breath. "Ready?" Voss asked. He nodded. The doors opened. Marcus stepped into the ballroom. For a moment, nothing happened. The music kept playing. People kept talking. He was just another guest in a jacket, slightly underdressed maybe, but not remarkable. Then someone recognized him. A gasp, a dropped glass. Heads turned in waves, like dominoes falling. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The jazz band faltered, then went silent. Marcus walked forward. Lauren saw him. Her face went through 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, confusion, fear, anger. And then, incredibly, she smiled. She stood up, hands out, the perfect picture of a relieved wife. "Marcus," she called, voice shaking just enough to sound emotional. "Oh my God, where have you been? We've been so worried." "Stop," Marcus said. His voice carried in the silence, clear, steady. Lauren's smile flickered. "Marcus, sweetheart, you're not well. Let me take you home. We'll get you help." "I said stop." He reached her table and looked her in the eyes. I know what you did. Ethan stood, moving between them. Marcus, man, you need to calm down. You're scaring people. Good, Marcus said. They should be scared. Because they've been sitting here drinking champagne with two people who've spent the last 2 months poisoning me. The room erupted. Lauren's face went pale. That's insane. Marcus, you're having a breakdown. I have video, Marcus said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I have evidence. And I have federal agents standing in this room right now, waiting to arrest you both. Ethan grabbed his arm. You need to shut up. Marcus yanked free. You told me I should be dead by now. Remember that? This morning, in my house, while I was hiding in a closet listening to you and my wife plan my funeral. Lauren's lawyer face came out, smooth and controlled. You're clearly confused, disoriented. Marcus, please, let's go somewhere private and talk. We're done talking. Voss stepped out from the side entrance, flanked by 4 federal agents. Lauren Devereaux, she said, voice carrying like a bell. Ethan Devereaux, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and felony poisoning. The agents moved in. Lauren backed up, hands raised. This is ridiculous. I'm his wife. I would never. We have you on video, Voss said calmly, mixing poison into your husband's food. Multiple times, multiple dates. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. Handcuffs clicked onto Lauren's wrists. She looked at Marcus, and for just a second, the mask dropped. He saw real hate there, cold and sharp. You were supposed to die, she hissed. I know, Marcus said, but someone saved me. Someone you never even noticed. Ethan tried to run. He made it maybe 10 feet before 2 agents tackled him into a dessert table. Cheesecake and tiramisu went flying. Someone screamed. They cuffed him on the floor, reading him his rights while he shouted about lawyers and false arrest and how this was all a misunderstanding. Marcus watched it happen and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no grief, just tired relief. Voss walked over to him. We'll need you to come to the federal building tomorrow. Full statement, deposition, the works. I'll be there. And Marcus? She lowered her voice. That woman who pulled you out, Cynthia, you make sure she's taken care of. People like her don't come around often. I know, Marcus said. Cameras were everywhere now. Phones up, recording, live streaming. By morning, this would be on every news site in the country. Billionaire nearly murdered by wife and brother on Christmas Eve. Saved by his housekeeper. The story would be told 1,000 different ways. Some true, some bent, some completely made up. But Marcus didn't care anymore. Because the real story, the one that mattered, wasn't about money or power or betrayal. It was about a woman who saw someone dying and decided to do something about it, even though it cost her safety, even though it cost her everything. That was the story Marcus would tell for the rest of his life. 3 months later, Marcus stood in a courtroom and watched Lauren and Ethan get sentenced to 25 years each. No parole, no early release. They'd tried everything, claimed he was lying, said the video was fake, hired the best lawyers money could buy. None of it mattered. The evidence was too clear, the poison too real, the intent too obvious. When the judge read the sentence, Lauren didn't cry. She just stared straight ahead, jaw tight, and Marcus realized he'd never really known her at all. Ethan looked at him once before they led him away. It should have been mine, he said, quiet, bitter. Marcus didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Marcus ignored them and walked to the car where Cynthia waited. She'd testified, told her story with the same quiet strength she'd shown that night in his house. The jury had loved her. The media had loved her. She'd become, almost overnight, a symbol of courage and decency. She hated every second of it. "Can we go home?" she asked as he got in the car. "Yeah," Marcus said. "Let's go home." Home wasn't the mansion anymore. Marcus had sold it a month after the arrest. Couldn't stand to be in those rooms. Couldn't walk past that kitchen without seeing Lauren's hands measuring poison. He'd bought something smaller, still nice, but simpler. A house with a garden and a porch and enough space to breathe. Cynthia lived there too. Not as a housekeeper, as family. It had taken weeks to convince her. She'd insisted she didn't need his charity, didn't want to be a burden, should get back to her own life. But Marcus had looked her in the eye and said, "You gave me my life back. Let me share it with you." So she stayed. They figured it out as they went. What it meant to live as equals after years of living as employer and employee. It was awkward sometimes, hard sometimes, but it was real. Marcus had stepped back from most of his business, put other people in charge, started spending his time on things that actually mattered. He funded a foundation in Cynthia's brother's name. Medical research, patient advocacy, holding pharmaceutical companies accountable. He partnered with Pastor Grant's church, investing in the neighborhood, creating jobs, building resources. He learned people's names, listened to their stories, saw them. And slowly, carefully, he built a life that felt like his own. One evening, 6 months after the trial, Marcus and Cynthia sat on the porch watching the sun go down. It was quiet, peaceful. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Always." "Why did you save me? Really, you could have just walked away, let it happen. You would have been safe." Cynthia was quiet for a long time. "When my brother was dying," she finally said, "I sat by his bed every day and watched him fade, and I kept thinking, if someone had just paid attention, if someone had just cared enough to look closely, he'd still be here." She looked at Marcus. "I saw you fading the same way, and I couldn't let it happen again, not when I had the power to stop it." "You barely knew me." "I knew enough. I knew you were a person, and people are worth saving." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I didn't see you. For 3 years, you were in my house every day, and I didn't see you." "You see me now." "I do," Marcus said, "and I'm never going to stop." Cynthia smiled. "Good, because you're not getting rid of me that easy." They sat together as the sky turned pink and gold, two people who'd saved each other in different ways, building something new from the ruins of what almost was. And for the first time in his life, Marcus understood what it meant to be truly rich. Not money, not power, not the things you owned or the name you carried, but the people who stayed when everything fell apart. The ones who saw you at your worst and chose to pull you out anyway. The ones who reminded you that being human meant being seen, being known, being worth the risk. That was wealth. And Marcus had finally found it. Not in a mansion or a boardroom or a bank account, but in a small house with a garden, sitting next to a woman who'd given him the one thing money couldn't buy: a second chance. And he wasn't going to waste it.